Billionaire mocked Maid for eating on the floor. Seconds later, her words leave him shaken. Sir, please, I didn't steal anything. Maria's voice cracked as security guards dragged her across the marble floor of the Bennett mansion, her knees scraping against the cold stone. She had worked in that house for 3 years, cleaning toilets and scrubbing floors while rich people laughed above her. And now they were throwing her out like trash. Before we continue, let us know in the comments section, what time is it and where are you watching from? And remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the story. Now let's continue. Maria Rodriguez was on her hands and knees in the grand dining room, polishing the floor until it shined like glass. Her back ached, her fingers were raw, but she kept scrubbing because she needed this job more than air itself. Through the doorway, she could hear Mr. Richard Bennett talking on his phone. His voice boomed through the house like thunder. "Another million? Fine, just make it happen," he said, like he was ordering pizza instead of moving money that could feed 1,000 families. Maria's stomach growled so loud she pressed her hand against it, embarrassed even though no one was listening. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. Her daughter Sophia needed new shoes for school, and the medicine for her asthma cost more each month. Food came last. "You there, Maid?" Maria's heart jumped. She looked up to see Mr. Bennett standing in the doorway, his expensive suit probably worth more than everything she owned. "Yes, sir?" She scrambled to her feet, her knees popping. "My study, now. There's a spill." She followed him through the mansion, past paintings that cost more than houses, past furniture that looked too perfect to sit on. His study was on the 3rd floor, a room bigger than her entire apartment. When she got there, she saw red wine spreading across her white carpet like blood. "Clean it, fast. I have guests coming in an hour." He didn't look at her when he spoke. To him, she was a tool, a thing that cleaned. "Yes, sir." She got to work immediately, blotting the stain, treating it with solution, scrubbing gently so she wouldn't damage the expensive fabric. Her back growled again, louder this time. Mr. Bennett glanced at her, his face twisting with disgust. "When's the last time you ate?" Maria's cheeks burned. I'm fine, sir." "You're making noise like a dying animal. It's distracting." He pulled out his wallet, took out a $20 bill, and tossed it on the floor next to her. "Go buy yourself something, but be back in 30 minutes. And for God's sake, don't eat in my house. I don't want crumbs everywhere." The bill landed in the wet wine stain. Maria stared at it. $20 on the floor, soaking in wine thrown at her like she was a dog. Something hot and sharp twisted in her chest, but she swallowed it down. She needed this job. She needed it so badly it hurt. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, picking up the wet bill. She didn't have time to leave and come back, so she finished cleaning the carpet first. By the time she was done, her hands were shaking from hunger. She went down to the kitchen, hoping to find some leftover bread or fruit, something small that no one would miss. The kitchen was empty. On the counter, she found half a sandwich wrapped in plastic. It looked forgotten, maybe from lunch. She checked the trash. It was going to be thrown away anyway. Maria took the sandwich, sat down on the floor in the corner where no one could see her, and ate it quickly. Each bite felt like heaven and shame mixed together. She was just finishing when she heard footsteps. Mrs. Bennett walked in, Mr. Bennett's wife, a woman who wore diamonds like they were plastic and talked to Maria like she was invisible. But she wasn't alone. 3 other rich women followed her, all dressed like they were going to a fashion show instead of just having tea. "And this is our kitchen," Mrs. Bennett said proudly. "We just had it remodeled. Cost us $200,000, but—" She stopped. All four women were staring at Maria. Maria was still sitting on the floor, the sandwich wrapper in her hand. What are you doing?" Mrs. Bennet's voice was ice. Maria stood up quickly, her face burning. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I was just eating on the floor like an animal?" One of the other women wrinkled her nose. "Is that how you let your staff behave?" Another woman asked Mrs. Bennet, her voice dripping with judgment. Mrs. Bennet's face went red. She was embarrassed, not for Maria, but because Maria had embarrassed her in front of her friends. "Maria, my office, now." Maria's heart sunk into her stomach. She followed Mrs. Bennet to the small office near the back of the house. Mr. Bennet was already there, called in for the meeting like she was some kind of criminal. "Explain yourself," Mr. Bennet said coldly. I was hungry, sir. I found a sandwich that was going to be thrown away and You stole food from our house," Mrs. Bennet interrupted. No, ma'am. It was just leftovers. I didn't think—" "You didn't think? That's the problem with people like you." Mr. Bennet leaned back in his chair, looking at her like she was dirt. "You don't think, you just take. And now my wife is humiliated because her friends saw our maid eating scraps off the floor like a stray dog." The words hit Maria like fists. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. It won't happen again." "You're right. It won't." Mr. Bennet's voice was final. "Because you're fired." The world tilted. "Please," Maria begged, tears filling her eyes. "Please, I need this job. My daughter, she's sick. She needs medicine." "Should have thought about that before you stole from us," Mrs. Bennet snapped. "I didn't steal. I found food that was being thrown away and—" "Are you talking back to me?" Mrs. Bennet's voice went shrill. Mr. Bennet stood up. "We're done here. Security will escort you out." "Wait, please!" Maria's voice broke. "Just let me explain." "Security." Two large men in black suits entered the room. "Remove her from the property, now." That's when Maria was dragged across the marble floor, her knees scraping, her dignity shredded into pieces. They threw her out the front door like garbage. She landed on the stone steps, her palms catching her fall, skin tearing. The iron gate slammed shut behind her with a sound like a prison cell closing. Maria sat there on the steps, shaking, crying, her whole world crumbling around her. How would she pay rent? How would she buy Sophia's medicine? How would she feed her daughter? She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and called the one person she had left in the world. "Hello?" Her voice was warm. "Anna?" Maria couldn't even get the words out. She just sobbed. "Maria, what happened? Where are you?" "They fired me. They threw me out. I don't know what to do." "Stay there. I'm coming to get you right now." 30 minutes later, Anna pulled up in her old car. She got out, ran to Maria, and wrapped her arms around her. "Come on," Anna said gently. "Let's go home." That night, Maria sat in Anna's small apartment, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. Anna made her tea and sat beside her. "Tell me everything." Maria told her the whole story, the sandwich, the floor, the humiliation, the firing. When she finished, Anna was quiet for a long time. Then she said something strange. "Maria, maybe it's time." "Time for what?" Anna looked at her with eyes full of something Maria couldn't read. "They humiliated you. They threw you out like trash. Don't you think they deserve to know?" "No, absolutely not." "They humiliated you. They threw you out like trash. Don't you think they deserve to know?" I made a promise." "A promise to who?" "To him? Maria, he's dead. He's been dead for 15 years. Maria's hands shook so hard that the tea spilled. It doesn't matter. I promised him I would never tell anyone, that I would live a quiet life and keep Sophia safe and never, ever. Look at you! Anna's voice rose, angry now. You're scrubbing floors for people who treat you like dirt. You're starving yourself so your daughter can eat. This isn't living, this is surviving, and barely. I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. Anna pulled out her phone. Make the call. Just one call. That's all it takes. Maria stared at the phone like it was a bomb. For 3 years, she had lived in that mansion, cleaning and cooking and serving, watching Mr. Richard Bennett throw money around like confetti. She had bitten her tongue 1,000 times. She had swallowed her pride until it felt like choking. But the memory of being dragged across that floor, the look of disgust on their faces, the way they called her a thief, something inside her cracked. "Give me the phone," she whispered. The next morning, Richard Bennett was in his study, sipping coffee and reading the financial news, when his assistant burst in without knocking. Sir, you need to see this." "See what? And why are you—" "Just look at your phone, now." Richard frowned and picked up his phone. He had 37 missed calls, 56 text messages. His email was exploding. And at the top of his news feed was a headline that made his blood freeze. "Billionaire's hidden shame. The maid he humiliated was the daughter of his former business partner." His hands went numb. No. He clicked the article with shaking fingers. Maria Rodriguez, 34, was recently fired from her position as a domestic worker in the home of billionaire Richard Bennett. What Bennett didn't know, what perhaps he should have known, is that Maria is the daughter of the late Marcus Rodriguez, the brilliant investor who co-founded Bennett Industries alongside Richard Bennett 30 years ago. Richard couldn't breathe. Marcus Rodriguez. The name alone was enough to make his chest tighten with guilt he'd buried for over a decade. He kept reading, his vision blurring. According to sources close to the family, Marcus Rodriguez and Richard Bennett were equal partners in the early days of Bennett Industries. But when the company began to take off, Bennett orchestrated a hostile takeover, using legal loopholes to force Rodriguez out of the company he had built. Rodriguez, betrayed by the man he considered his best friend, died of a heart attack just 2 years later, leaving behind a wife and a young daughter. That daughter is Maria Rodriguez, the woman Bennett fired for eating a leftover sandwich while sitting on his kitchen floor. Richard dropped the phone. His entire body was shaking. Marcus. God, Marcus. He hadn't thought about him in years, hadn't let himself think about him. It was easier that way, easier to pretend that what he'd done was just business, just smart strategy, just survival. But it wasn't. He had stolen everything from Marcus, the company, the credit, the fortune. And then Marcus died, and Richard had convinced himself it wasn't his fault, that Marcus was weak. The business was ruthless, and only the strong survived. But Marcus had a daughter Richard hired without even knowing who she was. A daughter he had just thrown out of his house like trash. His phone rang. It was his lawyer. "Richard, we have a serious problem." "I know. I saw the article." "It's not just the article. She's filed a wrongful termination lawsuit. And the press is eating this up. They're calling you a monster. Social media is going insane. There are already protests being organized outside your office building." Richard's mind was spinning. How did this happen? How did I not know who she was? She used her mother's maiden name, Lopez, Maria Lopez. She must have changed it after her father died. Of course. Of course she did. Fix this, Richard said, his voice hollow. Fix it? Richard, this isn't something you can just throw money at. This is, I said, fix it! He hung up. But there was no fixing it. By that afternoon, the story had gone viral. News trucks were parked outside the Bennett mansion. Reporters were shouting questions every time Richard tried to leave. His business partners were calling, angry, worried about their reputations. His wife was furious, blaming him for the humiliation. And through it all, Richard couldn't stop thinking about one thing. Maria's face when he threw that $20 bill on the floor. The way she had looked at him, not with anger, but with something worse. Acceptance. Like she was used to being treated like garbage. By him. By everyone. He had done that to Marcus's daughter. 3 days later, Richard did something he hadn't done in 20 years. He drove to a small apartment building on the east side of the city, climbed 3 flights of stairs, and knocked on a door. Anna answered. Her eyes went wide with shock, then narrowed with hatred. Get out, she said coldly. Please, I need to speak to Maria. You've done enough. I know I have, but please, just 5 minutes. Anna looked like she wanted to slam the door in his face, but then a small voice came from inside the apartment. Who is it? Aunt Anna? A little girl appeared beside Anna, maybe 9 or 10 years old, with big brown eyes and messy dark hair. Sophia. Marcus's granddaughter. Richard's throat closed up. Let him in, Maria's voice said from somewhere inside. Anna looked furious, but she stepped aside. Richard walked into the tiny apartment. It was smaller than his closet. The furniture was old, the paint was peeling, but it was clean, and there were pictures on the walls, pictures of a little girl, smiling, laughing, living. Maria was sitting on the couch, her hands folded in her lap. She looked tired, worn down, but there was something different in her eyes now. Strength. Say what you came to say, Maria said quietly. Richard sat down across from her. His hands were shaking. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know who you were. Would it have mattered? The question hit him like a punch. I don't know. That's the truth, isn't it? You didn't know who I was, but you also didn't care. I was just the maid, just another person beneath you. It didn't matter if I was hungry. It didn't matter if I was struggling. I wasn't real to you. You're right, Richard whispered. You're absolutely right. My father loved you, Maria said, and her voice cracked. Did you know that? He talked about you all the time when I was little. He said you were brilliant. He said you were his best friend. He said you were going to change the world together. Tears were running down Richard's face now, and he didn't even try to stop them. And then you destroyed him, Maria continued. You took everything he built and you erased him like he never existed. And when he died, you didn't even come to the funeral. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't feed my daughter. Sorry doesn't pay for her medicine. Sorry doesn't give me back the years I spent scrubbing your floors while you walked past me like I was invisible. I know. I know it doesn't. But I'm here now, and I want to make this right. Maria laughed. A bitter, broken sound. Make it right? How? By giving me money? By offering me my job back? By writing me a check and making yourself feel better? No. By giving you what should have been yours all along. Maria frowned. What are you talking about?
Richard pulled out a folder from inside his jacket. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. Your father owned 40% of Bennett Industries when I forced him out. I stole it from him using legal tricks and betrayal. That 40% is worth about $4 billion today. Maria's face went white.
I can't give you the company shares. It's too complicated legally, and it would destroy the business. But I can give you the equivalent value. $4 billion. It's yours. It always should have been yours. The room was silent, except for Sophia's breathing and the sound of traffic outside. This isn't about making myself feel better, Richard continued, his voice breaking. This is about doing what I should have done 15 years ago. Your father built that company as much as I did, maybe more, and I stole it from him. I stole it from you. Maria stared at the folder like it might bite her. I don't want your money, she whispered. Richard's heart sank. Maria, I want you to admit what you did, publicly. I want the world to know that Bennett Industries wouldn't exist without Marcus Rodriguez. I want my father's name on that building. I want him remembered. Richard nodded slowly. Done. Anything else? I want a foundation. The Marcus Rodriguez Foundation. For families like mine. People who are struggling, who are working 3 jobs, who are eating on floors because they have no other choice. I want to help them. And I want you to fund it. Done. And I want you to look at me, Maria said, her voice strong now, clear. Really look at me. And remember that every person you pass, every person you ignore, every person you treat like they're beneath you, they're somebody's daughter, somebody's mother, somebody's entire world. Remember that. Richard looked at her, really looked at her, and saw his old friend's eyes staring back at him. I'll remember, I promise. 6 months later, the Marcus Rodriguez Foundation opened its doors in downtown Los Angeles. It provided job training, food assistance, medical care, and housing support to thousands of families. Maria ran the foundation herself. She was good at it, brilliant even. She had her father's mind for business and her mother's heart for people. Richard kept his promise. He gave interviews telling the truth about Marcus Rodriguez. He put Marcus's name on the Bennett Industries building. He funded the foundation with hundreds of millions of dollars. And every single day, he thought about the woman he had thrown out of his house, the woman who had eaten on his floor, the woman who had taught him the most important lesson of his life, that money can buy you everything except the one thing that matters most. Your humanity. So here's my question for you. Do you think Maria should have forgiven Richard? Do you think money can ever truly make up for the pain of betrayal? Or do you think some wounds are too deep to heal, no matter how much someone tries to fix them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. And if this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join us for more emotional, powerful stories that will make you think, feel, and see the world differently. Because everyone has a story, and every story matters, even the ones that start on the floor.